is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some not Dungeons and Dragons.
Yay!
Ooh.
I am Christiana Ellis. Usually I am the Dungeon Master, but we're playing a slightly different game tonight. But the other players are Starla Hutchton,
Greetings and salutations.
Mark Kilfoyle,
I have no context for who I am.
and Jenny Meltzer.
Hey guys.
So we are down a few people tonight. The illnesses and bugs are just going around this time of year. So what we decided to do is to play a slightly different game today. So we are going to be playing a game called For the Queen. But as a experiment, this is going to be set in canon for our regular So Many Levels D&D adventure. So the basic idea is that the queen in question is Queen Solomonia, and we will all be playing members of the Dawn Court. And more details about that will emerge as we play. It's a very neat game, and it's very simple. And we're going to now read through the rules to both demonstrate how simple it is and explain anything else you need to know. So, we're going to take turns reading through these cards. I'm going to pull them up on the screen and I'll read the first one and so on. Go around the table clockwise, taking turns reading these cards aloud.
The land you live in has been at war for as long as any of you have been alive.
Oh, that's getting a little cut off.
Oh, you don't see it?
I'm missing the last couple of lines.
Really? I mean, on my stream, on my camera, it's showing the whole thing.
They're covered up by our pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you need to change your window shape.
Yeah, I think
I've
I
been
can.
trying to stretch it.
Yeah,
I mean-
I'll see what I can do here. All right, that might. Yeah, no, I can't. Every time I move it, it kind of puts the portraits over. Different
Okay,
portraits.
well, it's okay.
Technology.
I can't move it to a different place when it's like the. Okay, well, here's what I'll do. Can you see it now?
I know what the first line is. It is cut off, but I know what it
Okay.
is.
Okay. Well.
What-
All right, I will read it. The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power. If you take the hangout window and you play with the proportions, you should be able to move where the thumbnails are.
no,
Kinda.
not really.
Like it stretches the whole thing out. Like that's what I've been doing.
Okay, you are
If I make it really small,
I can read
can't
it. I can read it on there, but
okay.
like I can see how Mark probably can't read it.
All right. I don't. So I. Okay. I.
The longer it is, the more difficult. More of it gets cut off.
Well, right. But my point is that. Okay. I don't know why you can't change the proportions of your Hangout window because you can usually make it so that the thumbnails are entirely below the rest of the video. No?
I'll show you a screen. I'll send you.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I will read all of them if it's a problem. Jeez.
Sorry, I just,
No, I know.
I
It's
really
like
do.
okay.
Like,
I
I have
well,
my whole window like stretched out.
Okay.
and it just stretches
well. The
everything
problem
to
is that
proportion.
like I can't either make like the Roll20 when it wants to make it big, it makes it only
Yeah.
in the center of the screen, and so now
Try it
we
one
have.
more time. I've got it stretched across two different screens. No, okay, never mind.
Okay.
I thought I had it.
All right. If you make the window narrow, it should
Yep.
narrow
Yeah.
and tall is what you do.
Yep. Narrow the window, Mark. That's what I did.
Yeah, you make
Let's
it
see.
narrow and tall so that the resolution of the camera. This is exciting information for anyone listening at home.
Okay, I think I've got a way. I think I've got a way.
Okay?
I can't see any of you, but I can see the card.
All
Yep.
right. So we'll do that just for while we do this part, which is only at the beginning.
Okay. Did you already read this one?
No. Well, you read it again anyway.
Yes, it's probably been forgotten. It's been so long. The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power. How's that?
Yes, great. Jenny. Jenny? Oh, there you go.
The queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue and accompany her on this journey.
She chose you because she knows that you love her. This one is moot because we have I've chosen a separate image instead. So we'll skip that one for reading it because it's just referring to the queen. And I have chosen that we have this image from a painting called Fairy Queen by Johann Heinrich Fuseli. But now, read this one, Strata.
Set the card that reads, "The queen is under attack. Do you defend her?" aside.
Shuffle the red prompt cards and place them face down on the center of the table.
Right. Some of this obviously pertains more to the physical cards than the Roll20 version, but this is so everyone gets the point.
Put the queen is under attack card in the middle of the deck for a game that takes approximately 30 minutes, or shuffle it into the bottom third of the deck to like the words are cut off like after that, and then
Oh, to play for an hour or more. Yeah,
to
actually.
play is cut
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. So, also in my experience, that time is way too short. Like it actually lasts way longer than that. So, when you have read the instruction cards, continue clockwise with the red prompt cards. Take turns reading the questions out loud, interpret these questions, and answer them however you wish.
Other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you. I think.
Yes.
Place the X card somewhere everyone can easily reach it.
Obviously, here we will just have to say it.
If you encounter a card or an answer that you don't want to be included in the game, tap the X card. That content is then removed from the game.
In our case, we'll have to just say it. But it's a game safety thing, just if it ever went in a direction anyone was uncomfortable with. If you draw a card that is removed this way, simply draw another card. You can X a card that you drew yourself.
You can also pass on your turn. To do so, give the prompt card you drew to the next player and say, "I'd like to hear your answer to this question."
A prompt card let me try that again. Retake. Snap. How do I reset this one? A prompt card can be passed around the table until someone applies the X card to it.
Continue answering, passing, and Xing questions until the queen is under attack card is drawn.
Each player should answer that question in turn, then the game is over.
Whoever wants to can draw the first prompt card.
All right. So that's all the instructions, and now we should no longer have to deal at all with that issue, the issue of whether you can see everything on the screen, because everything else will fit in this prompt card box, which I assume all of you can see the whole box.
Yes.
Yes? Good. All right. So, does anyone want to go first?
Ah, sure. The hell.
All right. Oops. Hang on. Let me do this slightly differently. Here we go.
Oh,
All right.
there we go.
So, because we will also have the audio version, do go ahead and read it too before you answer.
You are considered beautiful by almost everyone you meet. How does the Queen make you question that perception? Oh my. We don't start out slow in this particular thing. I'm open to suggestions, but I do have some ideas. People want. This is the part of where you get to, chime in, if you wish. For those who aren't familiar.
Yeah.
Well, the queen is clearly the most beautiful of all of the beings here in the Feywild. So, anyone compared to her would feel less beautiful.
Yeah. It's a possibility. Any other suggestions?
Well, I think that it's everyone has their own personal relationship with the Queen. That's one of the great things about her, is that she has within her the capacity to have a unique bond and relationship with everyone in her court.
Very political. Okay. All right. Jenny, do you want to jump in? You don't all have to answer every question, but...
I have seen what happens to people who are more beautiful than the queen.
Interesting. Well, my answer, and I don't know who this character is yet, so we'll find out as we
Sure.
go too.
Well, this is part of how we
Sure.
find out.
My answer is, I am considered beautiful by almost everyone I meet, but why does the Queen not favor me? If I am truly the most beautiful, then surely her favor would fall upon me above those others that stand in my way.
Well, how does she indicate to you that you are not her favorite?
By overlooking me at every opportunity.
Was there a particular time recently?
Yes. There was a dinner party when I was not asked to perform. But I should have been. I love how sinister these characters get very quickly, especially for me. But
Well-
also maybe me.
Well, it could also be that we're playing this set in a Fey court with a queen who certainly has sinister elements to her as previously established. So
It's true.
that builds it in a little bit too. But I love how this game allows us to explore all of that, or it could be entirely innocent too. But all right, so that would make since Mark drew that one first, Jenny, this next one is for you to start.
There's a false rumor about you and the queen back at the royal court. What is it, and how did it start? I do not know who my parents were. So there's a rumor going around that my father was the same as the queen's father and that she's my sister. But I'm a bastard, which would make me a bastard. So
So these things can get complicated for certain in the Feywild. Is that is this father a known quantity? Someone who's still around, or what happened to them?
well, I'm not sure. I mean, it's been a long time since anyone's spoken of the queen's father. Hundreds and hundreds of years of history have passed.
So, How do you think this rumor got started?
Well, I mean, we do look very similar.
But people make rumors, not looks.
Well, right, this is a false rumor. Is it just like why would even looking similar, why would someone be like are you known to be a bastard, or is it only suspected?
It's suspected because I don't know who my parents are.
Oh,
I was orphaned when I was very, very small.
well, many within the Feywild are born of the energy and the environment around them.
I think that someone started the rumor to try to put me in her disfavor.
She would not like the notion that her father sired another.
Probably not.
Might choose to distance herself from you regardless, just because of the rumor.
But she doesn't. I mean, they say keep your enemies closer, so.
Well, that's true. All right. Are you done with that question?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, well, I will choose the next one. What do you do to disappoint the queen on this journey? Gosh, well, I think that we have all been chosen to act as her retinue. We know, of course, that she is supremely powerful and therefore does not need us for protection. She chose us because she knows we love her. But I think when we were passing through one particular forest, I slipped away for a time to visit a sometime companion of mine who lives in the Twilight Court. And we have had a friendship that could be more, but I did choose to temporarily suspend my duties as an admirer of the Queen in order to spend time with this individual, and I had hoped that that would go unnoticed, but that was foolhardy.
You put someone ahead of the queen.
I thought I could do both. Foolishly.
Yeah, you know better.
Well,
You do now.
I could not help myself. And it was simply the look on her face that told me how large my mistake had been. All right. Oops. So this one's for you, Starla.
What promise did the Queen make to you before this journey? Do you think she'll keep it? Well, I have served the Queen for many, many, many years with just unfaltering loyalty. And she promised me that when we returned to court, that I would be her first. But do I think she'll keep it? It's very hard to say. There are so many other people here that serve her with just as much dedication. But I have seen her talk around promises and twist things so they end up meaning something different.
What do you think of the way she brought those mortals in to sit at her head of the table with her at the recent gala?
Well, obviously, I was not pleased to be moved further down the table than I usually sit. But I understood it was a special occasion, and after all, they are mortals, so they're more than likely to die very soon.
All right. Oh.
Why are some others at the royal court jealous of your relationship with the queen? Jealousy is so petty and juicy. I think it's because it's so effortless. Some try their entire lives to get as close as I do every day I wake up.
And yet, you desire her attention even more? You grumble with bitterness that you are not her focus at every moment?
Of course. Who would not want to bask in the glow of Her Majesty all the time? A small glimpse of it is enough to drive some to insane levels, especially when it's taken away.
Right. Jenny.
Who is this distant power you are traveling to, and why do they make you uneasy? I feel like we're traveling to see the Twilight Court, to meet with them, and it makes me uneasy because we've always had problems with them. They always want to start trouble, and they want her power.
So you're doubting her wisdom and choosing to go see that?
I don't doubt her wisdom. I doubt their intentions.
There was certainly that awkward moment at the gala where the Twilight Queen's vassal simply acknowledged receipt of a message rather than performing the normal obeisances. Is that the right word? Am I saying that right? The formal courtesies.
Obeisances?
Obeisances.
Obeisance?
Yeah,
Obeisance, yes.
Obey!
Yes.
obey me.
Niceties.
Certainly she abandoned any pretense of normal court decorum, made a scene. I suspect personally that the brusqueness of that delivered message suggests that it is she who feels threatened and not our beautiful Dawncourt.
Both words were cut out there.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I
hilarious.
didn't get the end of that.
And not our beautiful Dawncourt. Still didn't hear me, or
No, we got that.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, you just laughed and didn't say anything.
No.
So, like, how am I supposed to know? Okay,
Cut out like at the end of the first
I
sentence, and then the beautiful Dawn Court
Okay.
got cut out too. So it was like
But
both
because-
halves of it at the end.
yes, I understand, but because I have no way of telling when it cuts me off for you, if you need me to repeat something, I need you to say so, and then acknowledge if you have heard my update. Yes,
Yep.
otherwise, so okay. Google Hangouts, man.
I need my running transcript.
I love and hate them just like I love and hate our Dawn Queen,
Oh,
her radiant
Hate.
grace.
hate's a rather strong
Wow.
word.
How can you not love her?
How could you not hate her?
There's such a fine line between the two.
No, there's not. There's a big gulf between the two. I could
No.
never consider hating her.
And yet, you grumble at her choices. You doubt. You rankle when she does not favor you as much as you believe you are worthy of.
I have a cream for the rankles. It does not bother me.
So, let's draw another card. The Queen lights a fire in you. What is it? Ah, well, see, this is such a fitting next question. It is obvious to everyone after the episode where I slipped away that I have occasionally found myself drawn to elements of the Twilight Court. It does not make my service to the Dawn Court any less loyal. I truly believe that we are the essence of all that is true and good and beautiful. But our nature is defined by its opposite. And to experience that full spectrum of existence is so compelling that I cannot look away sometimes. Just as when the sun, the light, is so bright that it leaves an afterimage, a negative in you, it leads me to seek out that opposite and to know the fullness of both the light and the dark, so as to better understand and appreciate both. After all, how can you appreciate the height of a mountain without also knowing the depths of the ocean?
Well, all some of us need is the sun.
Well said. I'm not sure about these scampers off to the Twilight Court. Some scandalous.
How does the Queen remind you of her status while on the journey? Well, while I generally need no reminders, she does occasionally ask me to add extra sparkle to her different tiaras. She doesn't wear them often, but she does cart the collection around. And it's a bit tedious, but it's something she's asked me to do. And our Queen always has a reason for everything that she does. And so I have to trust in her wisdom.
Wait, you add the sparkles? They're divine.
Oh, I thank you. I take extra pride in
A bit much, but divine.
Do you think that she thinks you need a reminder that it is her that wears the tiara and deserves the sparkles? Forces you, therefore, to give them to her?
I have never taken it that way. Because I've never questioned her role and her importance to me. Ever. So perhaps she is testing me. But I will not falter.
Very nice.
I seem to recall last time, all the time we wanted the questions to be for the previous person.
Yeah? Well,
what do you, pardon?
you
Yes?
can pass the cards.
But it would only go forward, not backwards, so. What do you do for the queen that anyone else can do? And why does she make you do it? Well, it is possible for any number of the court to entertain the guests and to make sure they're okay and to follow up on them and to make sure the numbers are correct and all of these little tedious things. But I am a representative of the queen. And since all adore me, they will therefore see something delightful and be reminded of her grace and beauty. So clearly, this is a choice that can only fall upon me.
How could it, though, if this is something that anyone could do?
Anyone can do a job badly. Not everyone can do it well.
Do you do it well?
Of course. Without a question.
Well, you say that you are not her favorite.
That will come in time. Others should have their turn to glow in the sun. That way they'll have a good memory when they're cast aside.
All right. I should announce when I'm drawing the next card so the audio version won't just be blank space for a moment. So, next card.
What do you do for the queen that no one else can do? Well, I've been doing her hair since we were very small. All her life. She trusts no one else to do it. No one could do it right.
That she knows of.
She wouldn't dare risk it. She knows better.
Would you be so bold as to declare that the queen is dependent on you for her beauty?
No, of course not. She's beautiful without my aid. But I do make her hair look amazing.
It does look amazing.
Although the queen is on the forefront of ever-changing, maybe it would be good for her to see what other things might bring. Switch it up a bit.
She's the queen. I mean, she's free to do as she wishes. I just know that she likes for me to do it.
What is it about your skills, do you think, that makes you so indispensable?
I'm very precise, very meticulous, never a hair out of place. Beads woven perfectly through every strand the way she likes them.
Drawing another card. What part of this journey will be the most difficult? How do you pull the rest of the retinue through it? Our journey to the Twilight Court involves passing through many dark recesses of the Feywild. Not all parts of the Feywild are as bathed in the glorious radiance of Queen Solomonia as our home in the Dawn Court, and this is a pain to experience for many who are unaccustomed to the darkness and There are those who will not see in the darkness. And as a result, it takes someone who can appreciate both the heights and the depths, the lights and the darks, the brightness and the shadows, to navigate some of these waves of night on our way to twilight. And I do not see this as a burden, but a privilege. And honestly, it makes me feel special that this is something that I can provide that others would quake at or falter.
So long, of course, as you don't appreciate that shadow and darkness too much.
The Queen admires passion.
The Queen admires loyalty.
My ambiance suddenly got louder. All right.
Dramatic moment.
He is drawing another card. Uh-huh.
There is someone else in this retinue you love besides the queen. How and why are you keeping it a secret? I would like to hear Mark's answer to that question.
How did I know that was coming? Oh, jeez. Okay. Let's see. So many really terrible answers, but I want the really nice, juicy ones.
At this point, we can also potentially come up with names for our characters.
True. I think I'm drawing more of a blank on that than anything else at this point.
Right? Wow.
Let's see. Ah. Oh, I'm going to blank on the name, so I will ask Christiana to remind me. But I know the title
Oh,
because he is bold and at the forefront of everything, unceasing and unquitting, untiring. I believe the Lord of the Hunt to be extraordinary.
so I'm only going to push back a little bit that it's supposed to be someone in this retinue.
Oh, he's not in the retinue?
No, it's
He's in
just
another class.
us. No, well,
Right.
Isn't he?
it's complicated. His role is complicated.
Yeah, he was consort to the other queen, though, wasn't he?
Sort of.
I think he thinks he is.
Relationship
I mean,
status.
totally not.
Well,
All right.
it is a gala where members of both courts are invited. But the point is, the retinue, when the retinue is used, that is just us and the queen. She brought
Oh, I
us
see.
with her on this journey,
Oh.
and only us.
Oh, wow.
So it
okay.
is someone else
I've narrowed
in
it
this
down.
retinue. And that's why I was suggesting that we would probably want to come up with names for our characters at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it narrower choices, too. Let's see. I feel weirdly singled out being the one guy on this particular
Well,
thing,
you
too.
said you could only pass down, right? So
Yeah.
No.
Choice.
No,
well,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm going to go ahead. I'll go ahead and rule that we do not have to only pass down. We can do it however we
Okay.
want.
Just pass it back.
But if you don't want to answer, you can always ask it, right?
Yes. You can always
All right.
choose that you just don't want to answer any given question.
Yeah, I'm up to interesting challenges, though. Let's see. So we have of the three characters, then
I have decided my character is named Foxglove.
Foxglove. Okay,
It's a plant that grows in the shade.
and Foxglove, you're sort of a guide, I suppose, because you know something about the shadow and the light. Starla does crowns and sparkles.
Let's see. I'll come up with a name. Narina.
Narina.
Well,
That's-
and Nerina.
yeah, that's remarkably far away.
Yeah, actually,
And,
it didn't occur to me just now, but you're right. Yeah.
and Jenny does hair. Okay. Well, let's see.
Narina Ethu.
Coolio.
Uther.
Yeah.
Narina Uther.
Birthday, yeah, sure.
Well, I was actually riffing on something else entirely, and I just subbed out an N instead. So anyway, doesn't matter.
All right. Okay. Hmm. Well, and how and why am I keeping it secret? Okay, actually, yeah, that works. So, I always will admire those who keep the queen safer. And as appalling and abhorrent as I find the Twilight Court and all of those other places, I must admit that Foxglove's knowledge is useful, and the Queen trusts them, so I must admit that brokers my own trust significantly. And curiosity is a failing, perhaps.
Come to the dark side.
We have cookies. Uh, but I'm keeping it secret because to admit that would be to admit that there's anything other than Her Majesty, which I believe is all in good.
Well, you did. Everyone saw, I think, the expression of disapproval and disappointment when I dared visit someone else to suggest that there was anyone else that I might put before the Queen. How did that make you feel
Absolutely.
when that
That's
happened?
and how do I keep it a secret? I protest far too much. Distract.
All right. So, d- um, did we just draw that one for you, or was that one passed? I can't remember
one
now.
passed
That one
me.
was
Okay.
passed by
Well,
me.
so we're gonna. This next
That
one's
was
for you
cool.
again, Starla.
Oh, okay.
Well, because you don't just skip
Yeah.
your turn. Oops.
The Queen gave you a compliment once. What was it, and why have her words stayed with you? Let's see. Uh, this is really difficult for someone who does not do improv well. um,
Just pretend it's a story,
Yeah.
because it all it really is.
Yeah.
So it was something insignificant. I had arranged the items on her, what is the word for it? The vanity that she sits at, to get her hair fixed and things. And I had arranged them in just the perfect configuration, slightly different than what I normally do. And she complimented me on that, and I've done it the same way ever since. And this was very special to me because I was sort of born and bred for this purpose, to serve the Queen solely. So to see that not just all the training that I've gone through over the years was put to good use, but also that I brought something to it of my own that was maybe more talent than learned skill, felt very significant to me.
Here's a follow-on question that'll kind of apply to everybody, and we don't have to have everyone answer right now. But given the surroundings that we're in, what sort of a creature are you? You could be, for example, an Eladrin, which is the Feywild elves, but you could also be anything that might be in the Feywild.
What am I? Like, I don't have a good breadth of knowledge from what
That-
all lives here, so that's a hard question.
That's okay. You can think on it. You also don't have to answer right now. We can just have
Okay.
that be something simmering in the background.
Okay.
All right. Let's draw another question. Do you want to go again, Mark, or we can just jump to Jenny?
I mean, I'm a sucker for punishment, really. So the queen trusts you, but no one else in the royal court does. Why? Oh, there's two reasons, really. I mean, they all fawn over my beauty, absolutely, and they all give me the proper praise that I deserve. But I know that they're all just a little inadequate for her grace, just a little bit flawed, just a little bit broken or hidden or somehow not right. And I judge them all, usually quietly, always with my eyes, and, well, sometimes with words. Never to their face, of course, that would be rude.
Yeah. We know you.
I'm afraid that a little bit of my inner personality comes out in this game. I don't know what that says about me, but
Aw.
turns me catty.
Well, it's a good game for that. All right. Ooh. This is interesting for potentially for Jenny's character. Did you pick a name for your character?
Yes. Istariel,
Istariel.
and I'm an Eladrin.
Uh-huh.
The queen is not your queen. Why do you serve her anyway? Well, I serve her because I want her to be my queen. I feel comfortable only in her presence and in her court.
Is there another queen that you are supposed to have? How is she not your queen?
Well, I mean, I wasn't born in her court. I wasn't born in her lands. I was born elsewhere.
Mm.
And I probably should serve another queen, but I don't want to.
Were you born in the lands of the Twilight Court? Did you reject that, or did you never
Yeah.
know it really?
I didn't really know. I don't know a lot about where I came from. Like I said, I was orphaned when I was very small. But there are some rumors floating around that I came from the Twilight Court.
Hmm.
Just another reason I'd rather not go back there.
Well, the nasty rumors probably tie into that. Like, why would the Dawn Court have taken you in, an obvious outsider, if not for there being some other reason?
Well, even if those rumors aren't true, I mean, she's benevolent.
Mhm.
Of course she took me in. What else would she do? She would never turn anyone away who was in need.
Is that true, though?
That's what I believe, anyway.
Sure, sure.
Sorry, I was nodding quietly, but it's an audio podcast.
Yeah, well,
Uh, of course she would. And she has.
Exactly.
she takes in those she has use for.
Mm-hmm.
So the next card is, what do you do that pleases the queen on this journey? I think she knows that because I find myself sometimes drawn elsewhere, that means every moment that I spend in adoration of her and in service to her, I am choosing amongst options rather than only following the line that only line I've ever known. I am someone who knows both and chooses one even if I sometimes am still drawn to the other. But she knows that that makes my moments where I stay with her and praise her all the more meaningful. And she knows also that my ties to the twilight and the darkness allow me to give her information that might otherwise be hidden from her. And that is something she cannot abide. And so she needs and desires much agents who can inform her what would be going on in the shadows, otherwise hidden. And also, I think I am a dryad. All right. Next card is for Nerina. Oh,
When did you know you were in love with the Queen? I was born that way because I was born in the same grove shortly after the Queen was, on the same day. Lost my train of thought, sorry. So I was born
Well, talking about
on
the
the
fake
same
Queen.
day, shortly after, in the same grove as the Queen. So this is my purpose, and this is my reason for existing. I have always loved her since the moment I knew what love was. Even before then, before I had a name for it. Also, I am a nymph, if I did not say that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nerina Crystal Spring.
Nice. All right. Hang on, I'm just doing a quick check because I think we're going through this relatively fast. I'm going to shuffle it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so next card. Did you pick a name, Mark? I don't remember.
Sorry, what?
Did you
I
pick
have
a
not,
name?
I have not. I have
Okay,
not.
well, your
I wrote down dryad, crossed it out when you said dryad. Then I wrote down
Oh.
nymph, crossed it out when Starlight said nymph. So it's like nereid. Great, that's a type of nymph. Damn it. So I have to figure
well,
that part out.
could
Yet.
be more than one.
Could be.
Could be a sprite.
But I am unique.
Yeah.
All right.
This is an interesting one compared to some of the other answers you've had. So you can either
True.
try to explore the contradiction or pass it.
So I'll read the card first of all. Mm-hmm. The Queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself. How do you know this? And I am going to choose to pass this card.
Mm-hmm. You're passing it to
Jenny.
Istariel.
Istari.
I mean, when I'm in her presence, I feel, I mean, I can't possibly live up to her. I mean, she's so intense and incredible and amazing, and she always tells me that I am too, but there's no way I could be like her.
Damn straight.
So why do you think she keeps you so close? To do her hair is such a personal, intimate task.
Well, she valued my conversation as well.
What do you discuss?
I can't tell you that. I mean, that's between the Queen and myself. Like, I can't just tell everyone what she talks to me about. If she wanted you to know, she would talk to you about it.
I see. So that's how it is then. All right. So this is a new card for Mark's character.
Ah, yes.
Uh-huh.
What brings out the queen's kindness? I have decided at least one thing. I don't know the name yet,
Hmm.
but I know she's a swan.
Ooh. Nice.
Let's see.
How do you perform then? Are you a dancer? Like, is it like a Swan Princess ballet thing?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I can take on legs if I really need them. Longer legs, that is.
Of course.
Humanoid forms as necessary, but always feathered. What brings out the queen's kindness? The queen is always kind to those who please her. Her fury and her vengeance can be very swift for those who do not. But to those she holds in esteem, she can be kind. Yes. And of that, of course, beauty is the most important thing to do for her.
She is beauty, of course, but seeks out that reflection in others as well.
She appreciates the attempt at beauty, all things pale beside her, but pale and ugly things are not interesting. And beauty is towards perfection, which is towards her.
All right. This is a new question for Istariel.
You have a personal connection to the land you are currently traveling through. What makes you want to stay, and why don't you? So we're like in between right now.
Right. So we are on a long journey to the Twilight Court. So we might pass through several periods of both light and darkness on the way.
I have that personal connection because I came from sort of an in-between myself, that I never quite knew where I was supposed to fall. And it makes me want to stay in the in-between, because why do we have to be defined? But I could never stay because I can't leave my queen.
You find yourself drawn to the other colors of the rainbow.
Toward
You-
my-
But you know that light casts a shadow. They're each defined by the other. And you know that that is in you too. Don't you want to explore that?
Not if it means leaving my queen.
I mean, she didn't notice when you left last time, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure she did notice.
Did she, though?
I think she did.
All right. Next card for my character. Ooh. You saved the queen's life once. How? Well, we all know, of course, that Queen Solomonia is immensely powerful and terrible in her fury when wronged, and certainly capable of defending herself and saving her own existence at the merest whim. However, I believe that she does at some times choose to experience the thrill of peril, making herself vulnerable deliberately so as to experience that spectrum of emotion. And it was at one of those times that she made herself vulnerable to a hag named Grandmother Praxis. And Grandmother Praxis is clever and dangerous and unpredictable. You never know what she wants, even though she always tells you. But I had done work for Grandmother Praxis. I had grown up knowing the swamps of her domain. And it was my suggestion that the chaos of the Feywild needs both the push and the pull of the twilight and the dawn, and that to remove either would lead to the triumph of the other, which would be boring. And at that time, Grandmother Praxis was persuaded.
You just simply told her to back off.
I made a suggestion that one outcome would be desirable over another.
And how was the queen's life in peril? What was
Well,
she going to do to her?
I believe that, as I mentioned, it seems likely to me that any real vulnerability or peril was not so much feigned as much as voluntarily undertaken. But Grandmother Praxis has a desire to see high things brought low and low things brought high, and so was considering a transformation into something lowly indeed. A pollywog, perhaps. A bit of algae.
So what you're really suggesting is that you saved the queen from herself?
Perhaps.
Hmm.
I would never presume to tell the queen that she owed me anything. But it was how I came to be in her service.
Hmm.
All right. Let's get another card. Ooh. How about this,
Oh no.
Narina?
Clearly not enough glitter.
What makes the queen ugly in your eyes? While she could never truly be ugly, there are times when I have wondered if her decisions they have seeded doubt, but of course I am always corrected. I correct myself. Because I see the outcomes. I would never, ever intervene. But sometimes I do question her choices when they seem a little darker than I would expect someone of her radiance to be capable of. So I would not necessarily say ugly. Although she is perfect, sometimes I have questioned that perfection.
Well, after all, both dawn and twilight are defined by a balance of light and dark. Although her radiant grace, Queen Solomonia, does travel towards the light, she carries some of the darkness with her.
Yes, sometimes it does follow.
Doubters and turncoats, all of you.
Well, how about another question for you then?
Okay. Why do you think the Queen trusts you enough to bring on this journey? I have shown unwavering loyalty, utter understanding of her perfection, and a willingness to carefully examine those who are closer to her, to make sure that none of them try to negatively influence her with their darkness and doubt.
But do you think that she is so blind as to not see how dissatisfied you sometimes are with the degree of favor she grants you?
I would never suggest that she is blind in that way, but her divine grace can sometimes overlook things. It is mostly that some things are truly beneath or unconcerning to her. I know she will recognize me properly soon enough when other distractions are dissuaded.
A test then?
A patience, a trust, a reliance, a faith.
Very nice. Next card. This ties in a bit to what we've said before, but
What do you usually do for the royal family? Why does that make you an unlikely choice for this journey? I'm actually going to pass that question to Starla.
What do I usually do for the royal family? Anything that is asked of me.
what is
Why
that
does-
usually, though?
Well, it could be anything from adding sparkle to her crowns to simply telling someone she is not inclined to speak to at the moment that some of her thoughts. I'm not always welcomed by others in around the court outside of Her Majesty, because they sometimes feel a little bit threatened by my role, and it was not one of my choosing, one I was born into, which I would not ever choose anything else. It's all I know. But sometimes that does make me a bit of a target.
Why does that make you an unlikely choice for the journey?
There are those who would like to see me out of the way, and it does paint a rather large target on my back. And because the Queen values me, she likes to keep me safe.
Is it that you think someone would attempt to harm you, or simply that they would attempt to take your place in your absence?
Some days I think maybe it is a bit of both. There are others close to her that I know would like to be in my position, that may feel slighted by my simple presence.
Simple.
So whether their weapons are of choice are words, or there was one time I was rather sick for a week after some tea disagreed with me. Usually she is more careful about who brings me things and has always instructed me to only take food and drink from specific people.
Usually, she's more careful, but that time she was not.
Well, rules are always evolving as needed. And that was one of those times. Typically, I do not ever leave her personal quarters within her palace.
All right. So this one's back to Istariel, because you passed the last one. Ooh.
You suspect this journey isn't just about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you believe is going on, and why? I believe that the Queen is on the threshold of gaining unbelievable power. And I think that eventually there will only be one court if she has her way.
Do you think that she is simply going to gloat to the Twilight Court to this effect, or is she buying time?
I think she's buying time. She's not quite ready to gloat yet. She doesn't have the power in her hands to do what she wants to do, but soon.
Well, and I think the entire court has heard about the Lord of the Hunt's antics in the Prime Material Plane, and even her Radiant Grace sent servants after that artifact. But now something else?
She's very close. I've heard rumors that she's about to be in possession of a great artifact that will grant her the power that she needs.
And being someone who appreciates that other side, how do you feel about that?
I believe that although her Radiant Grace is extraordinarily beautiful and powerful and wise, I think that the outcome of an utter victory of one court over the other would ultimately prove dissatisfying. For as angry as she gets when information is denied her, imagine the boredom that would result from knowing everything.
And for Astario, who feels a pull to these other places?
I don't feel opposed to that place. I just
And
have
other.
ties. I mean,
The in-between nature of it.
Mm.
I would be happy if she could tip the balance in her own favor. Then I would be less likely to even consider that place.
You wish her to remove the temptation from your heart?
Yes.
The next card is... Ooh. You were summoned to a private meeting with the Queen once. Why did you feel disappointed afterward? I think it was as I was just saying. I think she described to me her intentions to become truly all-knowing. And while I think that her drive to achieve that is one of the most beautiful things about her. Her passion and drive and desire to know everything is incredible. But I believe that it is the hunt, the effort, the journey of discovery that is ultimately what defines her. It is the vector upon which she travels, and were she ever to arrive at that destination, all movement would cease. And I believe that stagnation would result. And this was never a problem until it became clear that it was possible she might actually achieve the outcome she sought. When dawn and twilight had forever been in balance, the tug of war might travel in one direction or the other. But for one side to win means the game is over. Next card. Ooh. It's a reverse of the first one.
You are considered ugly by almost everyone you meet. How does the queen make you question that perception? Well, she assures me that it is only my position that they covet for themselves. Which is why she typically keeps me far away from prying eyes. It is not that I would displease by my appearance, but because I would remind others of what they are not.
How generous the queen is in her descriptions and kindness.
Haters gonna hate.
You don't think that it is simply an admiration of the full spectrum of appearance, as I have sometimes seen? She herself is the most beautiful in a classic sense, and she admires those who draw by contrast.
She appreciates interesting elements that surprise me sometimes in other people. So I do not always think that her definition of beauty is the same as others.
I think that most people think that you're ugly because you're next to the queen all the time.
I like her.
Such kind words, how could I ever match them? So I won't try.
Catty bitch.
Next. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
How about that question? There.
Wow.
Did
okay.
did you decide on a name yet?
Lota.
Lota. Lota, the swan. Go ahead and read that next card, why don't you?
All right. You arranged for the queen to be ambushed on this journey. What did they offer you? Oh, okay. It's getting juicy. All right. I have no doubts as to the queen's prowess, and truly her safety, while she does occasionally call on others to do things that she finds distasteful or just wishes not to do herself. She's quite capable of taking care of herself. However, sometimes she is blinded by those who are too close to her. Sometimes she overlooks their flaws, perhaps meaning to be kind. So, I would survive the ambush. The queen would survive the ambush. But there might be accidental focused collateral damage.
Gee, I
Eh.
wonder who that's referring to.
Gosh, I wonder, Loda, have you ever prepared tea for other people in the royal court?
My tea making skills are legendary.
Very nice. All right. Next card. Ooh. So this would be for Istariel, or you can pass.
There's a part of you that does not want peace in this land. Why are you attached to the war? I am attached to the war because I want to see that court extinguished. I want them gone.
Mm.
So I'm constantly in hopes that she continues her flight.
Mm-hmm. You don't want a negotiated settlement. You want the annihilation of the other side.
Yes.
I think sometimes we get an echo of the ambiance through something. Anyway, very nice. Okay. Next card. What did you bring with you to protect the queen? There are many of the tools of my trade that would not be brought out to display at a royal gala, often not discussed in the privileged salons of the Dawn Court, or, for that matter, in the Twilight Court. It is the natural and unnatural tools most often used by those you might call hags that frequently come in the most useful when dealing with true dangers in the Feywild. A bag of teeth and a half-rotted acorn. These things, and others like them, that show one purpose perverted and meant to drive another, can be truly powerful in the right hands.
Can I just say, ew?
You can. Many
Ew.
have. All right. Next card.
What is something you do for the royal family that has prepared you well for this journey? Let's see. Well, because of my place, while some covet it, they also discount me as not being much of a threat. Because I am fairly sheltered, but I've learned to listen. And I hear things that others might say thinking they're alone because they don't pay any attention to me whatsoever. Or at least pretend to completely ignore me. So my keen senses definitely come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget the glitter, darling. That stuff's lethal. Especially the feathers.
Next card. Ooh. You're getting the sinister ones now.
It's me. It's just going to happen that way. What did you bring with you that endangers the queen?
See, I thought when you said it's me that that was your answer to this question.
Oh no. Um, hmm. Although, uh, I want to say that her primary danger is her faith in the queen. No, and an almost fanatical devotion to the queen. Huh? Amongst her dangers include such elements as a, a true belief that the queen can handle anything, an almost fanatical devotion to the queen, a somewhat covetous attitude towards the worms that have made their way too close to the queen, and a willingness to make certain deals in order to come to the proper outcomes.
And perhaps a small talisman that can be tracked.
No, darling, everyone always knows what I am.
Jealousy.
Yes, we can smell the covetous nature from a mile off.
Well, can we though? That I'm not. Yeah. Well.
That's tea, darling.
They smell remarkably similar.
Clearly you have no taste.
Well, ever since she had that bad experience with teas.
No appreciation for good things.
Like your own death.
Well, it is perhaps worth noting that the foxglove plant is poisonous.
This is such a weird game because it does allow me to just sort of make up some really weird characters sometimes.
It's fine. Next card.
What makes the queen beautiful in your eyes? Her power. She just exudes power. She could do anything. I know she could. I think that she has the potential to one day become a god.
What is it that you think has that she lacks now that she could have?
To become a god? I think she needs just a little bit more information.
So if she would lose her power, you would lose all interest in her. She would be ugly to you. You would turn your back on her if her power wavered.
She would never lose her power. So that would never happen.
Some threaten it.
Queen Hieratimus of the Twilight Court is powerful as well.
Not as powerful and beautiful as our queen.
Next card. You saw the queen do something terrible to keep the retinue safe. What was it? Did you come to respect her more or less afterward? Well, gosh. I think there was, because as we have said, it is not so much that the queen herself is likely to be in danger, but we who accompany her are not as powerful. We rely on her at times to keep us safe as we journey through a dangerous region. And I think that we saw a village of harmless, innocent myconids, little fungus fellows who were leveraged by some evil, corrupted influences from another plane. And the Myconids were used as hostages of sorts, threatened, her subjects threatened, in order to bend her decisions to the will of these extraplanar influences, but not one to be threatened or blackmailed. The Fey Queen, Queen Solomonia, simply annihilated the entire village and burned away the corrupting influence as well. She saw that it was necessary to sacrifice even some of her own faithful subjects in order to prevent any tarnish to her own glorious radiance. But that is the shadow that the bright light casts. And it's not so much that I respected her more afterwards as much as it was an indication of what I believe she always has been and must remain.
And what is that?
Balance. One side of a crucial balance. Next card. Ooh.
The queen is responsible for the death of someone you loved. Who and what happened? Well, there's only one other person that I have truly loved outside of Her Majesty. And that was my mother. But my mother served to the previous queen. And when the new queen was born, the old queen ceased to be. And so I took my place at the new queen's side, as it has always been. So in that way, she stole the life of the only other person that I loved. But it was no more in her control than it was for me to be born into her service. So.
So you're saying you didn't really earn your position?
We all have choices in life. Some have more than others.
I find it interesting that you would choose to believe that she had no control rather than the simple concept that she might find it necessary to dispense of even loyal subjects if she found it served her purpose.
Well, the queen is wise in all things, and I trust her judgment implicitly.
But you believe that she had no control when it came to your mother.
It is just the way things are.
Next card. Uh-oh, this is the big one. So, yeah, so the queen is under attack. So, your character, Lota, is the first to answer. Do you defend her?
So I presume this might be an ambush.
It can be anything you want.
I believe in my queen and her utter ability to overtake and overcome any difficulty. I do not need to defend her. I simply have to make sure that I do not perish.
What do you do then?
I defend myself and watch for those who might be treacherous. While she can defend herself against them, I feel a duty to make sure that she does not have to when possible.
Do we have any clues as to the nature of these attackers? Who would be so foolish?
Clearly some that feel like they've been wronged at court, that have decided that they didn't like some of her decisions, or that perhaps they felt humiliated when some mortals were involved.
How about you, Istariel? The queen is under attack. Do you defend her?
Absolutely. I would die for her if I have to.
Do you have to?
I hope not.
This is the end of the game. This is where we're deciding.
I will fight for her to defend her
Mhm.
from all who attack her.
Okay. Well, but what I'm saying is you can decide now how that goes.
Do we know how many attackers there are?
We have not decided. It is entirely within our
Oh,
purview
okay.
to make
So
those
it's all of
decisions.
us. Okay.
Mhm.
I will put myself in front of her and fend off all who come in direct contact with her. I would say there's like 4.
Mhm.
I'll probably die.
Yeah?
Yeah, I probably will.
You give her your life?
Yes.
Who will do her hair now?
She can find
Probably.
another.
Probably the swan.
Be hard to do with all those feathers. Can't get the same kind of accuracy.
You'd be surprised, won't you?
So, my turn now for Foxglove. The queen is under attack. Do you defend her? Yes, because I am in her service. I do not desire an outcome where one side annihilates the other, because I believe that would be ruinous and not ultimately a victory. But I am in the queen's service, and as is my duty, I defend her. And I see in the attackers a pattern of foolishness driven by jealousy. And it is my nature to survive where others do not. Always watching. How about you, Narina? The queen is
Well-
under attack. Do you defend her?
I do. I am the closest to her, kind of the last line of defense. I'm not as powerful as some of the other people in the retinue.
Mm-hmm.
But if the queen dies, so do I. My life is intrinsically tied to her. So my choices are either to do nothing and die, or to try to preserve her and thus my own life, possibly dying. But I would be saving the one person that I truly love.
And what do you think? Do these attackers seem intent on separating the queen from her most loyal vassals?
Perhaps, but what I find most suspicious is that one of our numbers does not put themselves quite as much to the forefront as their constant professions of loyalty would make one expect of them. So, is this on me to decide how this goes?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah. This is the climax of our story.
Well, I would definitely shout warnings for incoming blows, defend as needed, and stick as close as possible to the queen. But keeping a very watchful eye on Lota.
Who's keeping a very watchful eye on someone so suspiciously close to her queen.
I see you looking.
Two beady little eyes and a beak pointed right at you.
All right. So, that's for the queen.
Personally, I don't know. I think the goose is cooked.
Could be.
So having a really plucky hard time.
So, welcome those of you in the chat. If you missed the beginning, we decided to play a different game because of being down a few players. But this is a game called For the Queen. It's an excellent game, in my humble opinion. And so we played it in canon. So we will have to see how that might play into the main campaign. Hopefully we'll be back with that next week with all our players to continue their journey to find the honey of the three queens.
Yeah, none of y'all get sick, and let's all try to get the ones that we're missing.
That'd be amazing.
And don't drink the tea.
Yeah.
Tea is certainly ominous. All right, so I think that'll do it for this time. So thank you everybody for listening or watching, and we'll be back next week for more adventure on so many
So
levels.
many levels.